Hello there, I'm the Biblical Translator, and today's scripture is taken from Luke 2:36, and it's about Anna. Anna was the lady who was there when Simeon was talking about seeing Jesus before he died. She had been married, but her husband died 7 years after they got married, and she didn't go with another man, she didn't remarry, and she was 84. And from the time her husband died until that day, and I guess she lived a while afterwards, she was 84, she literally stayed in the temple, dedicated her time to the temple, fasting and praying. Can you imagine people doing that today? I mean, to be honest, and the thing is, she was well within her rights to remarry. Death of a spouse was one of the main reasons why a woman could remarry, because God had compassion on widows. He felt that they were vulnerable people, so he felt they needed protection. So he encouraged marriage. But even so, Anna didn't want to get married again. Was this because of dedication to her husband, to her dead spouse? It's interesting because, back in the day, I don't know whether it's because we watch movies, there was so much loyalty to the spouse even after he died. You used to find women, they just used to live on without their spouse. Many of them didn't take on another partner. Now, today, people are like replaceable parts, aren't they? The husband doesn't even have to die. All he's got to do is do something wrong, and they're off with someone else. There is no loyalty and no dedication, and that is because today people tend to choose frivolously. They tend to choose based on superficial reasons. There's no depth, there's no real love, and because there's no real love, there's no endurance, there's no loyalty, there's no dedication. People get married a lot of times for convenience, or because they don't want to be lonely, or because they need someone to pay the bills. Not because they love that person, not because they want to dedicate their life to that person. And even though they go into the church and they give the oath until death do us part, they're just words. It's just a ceremony. It's just things that come out of their mouth automatically and holds no meaning. After they've said it, they've probably forgotten what they've said. All they're interested in is the party afterwards and changing into their dance clothes. Or even an even better dress than the wedding dress. Or in the case of men, something more casual. But how long does it take for them to forget their vows? How long does it take for people to forget the vows they made before God about being with somebody through sickness and in health, until death do they part? And Anna, even though death parted them, she still didn't take on another person. It's hard to imagine that nowadays. It's hard to imagine people just sitting there, living their life solemnly without no interaction with a person of the opposite sex. It's almost like unnatural. I mean, now it's kind of ironic because, like I said in that earlier video, people are just opting to be by themselves out of choice. They're not even getting married. A lot of people aren't getting married today. And I think when you think about the reason for marriage back in the day, the reason for marriage, what was it? It was really a business arrangement. It wasn't out of love, it wasn't out of romance. It's recently they've romanticized marriage and they've exploited it and made money out of it. But back in the day, it was a business transaction. It was something where two people needed to be together, either to have children and carry on the legacy, or it was because they needed a business partner, or they needed just somebody to be around to give them social standing. A lot of people, they didn't even love the person that they got married to. And sometimes it was merely because one person couldn't manage by themselves. They needed an income from two people. But now you'll find there's a lot, especially the women back in the day, but now you'll find women are more than capable of looking after themselves. And instead of turning the table around, they were just getting up and going, forging ahead. Back in the day, the woman would stay at home and she'd look after the household and she'd look after the children, and the man would go out to work. And yes, we do have husbands in some situations, but the majority of times, if a man isn't working or if a man isn't bringing home the bacon, the woman doesn't want to know. So we've got a situation now where women, either they just want a lover, a booty call, they don't want any complications, they don't want any attachments. And it's interesting because, you know, I watch these Korean movies, and this woman said straight out to the man, look, I don't want to get involved, I don't want no serious attachments, I just want to have fun. I just want you to sleep with me and get up and get out of my bed and get out of my house. That's what she said to him. And I think at first he thought it was exciting. He liked the idea. But after a while, he started feeling used. He started thinking, no, I want something more out of this relationship. And when he wanted something more, she decided, no, I don't want to have anything to do with you. And the only way he could maintain that relationship was on her terms. So the table has turned somewhat, where women seem not to care whether or not they have a relationship. And the thing is, with Anna in the Bible, she chose, not for the reasons that people choose today, but she chose to be single until she was 84. She chose to be on her own. She chose to dedicate herself to God, to prayer and fasting. These days, I'm not quite sure what's in the mindset of women who want to be on their own. Everybody wants to be on their own for different reasons. Some people, like I said, it's just so much easier in a world where we've been conditioned to be selfish, to get things done our way. We don't want anybody tipping the boat. We don't want anybody changing where we put things or how we do things. And that's a problem with the women who want to be on their own, and then they momentarily decide, oh, I'm going to have a partner in my house. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to see how it works. And God forbid that partner touches something and puts it back in the wrong place, or, you know, takes the car and doesn't put the keys in the right place, or does something that's out of sync with how she normally does things when she lives on her own. God forbid. So the love is gone. The reason for wanting somebody in your life is no longer there. It's different. It's not that it's no longer there. It depends on people's individual circumstances. There are those who still need people. There are still the traditional people who still want that partnership. But do we still have the Annas of this world who will stay alone by themselves? I wish they were worshipping God, but they're probably not. They're probably worshipping money and those kind of things. Or maybe they're just living their best life. But whatever the reason is, it's not good to shut people out. And I'm not telling you to take people on, but just be conscious about your singledom. Just be conscious why you are not getting married, why you don't want to remarry, and ask yourself, is it for selfish reasons, or do I genuinely just prefer to be on my own? It's so easy to please yourself. It's so difficult to please someone else. and it's so difficult for somebody else